Bueno, pues aquí Daniel Simón para el podcast Universo Star Trek de Fuera de Series, que tiene el honor de recibir a Kevin y Dan Hageman y Ben Hibon. I hope I have pronounced your names correctly. Gente que tiene entre sus créditos como escritores, en el caso de los hermanos Hageman, el haber escrito Hotel Transilvania, las películas de Lego, Trollhunters, y ahora guionistas de la nueva serie de Nickelodeon, Star Trek Prodigy, que pronto será estrenada en España. Y también tenemos al director de animación suizo Ben Hibon con nosotros, también responsable de la serie. Guys, thanks for doing this. Thanks for speaking a little bit for the Spanish Star Trek fans who are we have expectations about Prodigy. We don't have very well what to expect because it's the first time since the 70s that we are going to have a animated Trek series targeted for the small ones, right? For the kids
and big ones.
And you will see our shows for big ones too.
Okay. Well, first thing I want you to know is that Star Trek is not widely known to the general public in Spain as in other countries. We Star Trek fans are a minority, and we will give an opportunity to this series no matter what. But how can we sell Prodigy to non-trekkers? What would be my pitch to non-trekkers to hook them into watch the series?
The pitch is the Star Trek world is very vast and big and intimidating for someone who's maybe not familiar with what it is, and they're apprehensive about jumping into a giant fandom. And our show is an on-ramp or an entry point that will treat them with respect and at the same time slowly dole out the Gene Roddenberry ideals, hopeful of a better future, diversity, that we're stronger when we're together, the story of many. And it's honestly, it's a beautiful story that will fill your heart with joy.
And I think like if you watch our show, you will be thrilled by the adventure and the visuals are stunning, but you will also be moved. It's probably, as you guys will see, it's probably one of the most emotional, I think, versions of Trek that anyone will have seen.
Yeah, and I think as a pitch or as an expectation, if you don't know anything about Trek, do you love sci-fi, space adventure, the idea of this wonderful sense of exploration of new worlds? And we have a story of like, we at some point we're talking about the Goonies in space, having kind of this kind of bunch of misfits kids that are coming together despite all odds to find a better future. And through that, we'll discover and experience incredible array of alien worlds and experiences and highs and lows. I think it's really fun. It's full of heart. It has stakes, action. So it's just a really exciting adventure. And if you like animation, it's also, I think it has a really interesting look. It has a very cinematic feel. So it has a movie quality to it, which also can be, I think, very recognized these days with the quality of the media out there. So it is a really engaging show, I think,
Mm-hmm. Well, I ask you for a pitch and you give me a very good one. Guys, thank you very much. Let's try to hook now the other side of the audience. In my opinion, a good point of the most recent Star Trek series has been able to balance new storylines, new characters, new concepts, with some nudges on wings to all-time Star Trek. I suppose in order to reach a new audience without losing the hardcore trekkers like myself. When you were planning Prodigy, did you try to do something similar like this to balance the new and the old?
Absolutely. We understood that like nostalgia is a powerful drug that is nice to see, but it doesn't sustain, because there'll come a time where you'll just get bored if there's no substance. And substance is through character. And that's why we wanted to make sure that as much as people love Janeway, we want you to grow to love this crew. And it may take a couple episodes, but that's okay because these characters have some depth to them. And we always talk about, as much as we're honoring the old, we have to honor the new, and we have to respect of creating new stories. And for a new audience, we want this to be their Trek show that they first gravitate towards.
How many episodes have you seen?
The pilot, and I'm supposed not to have seen anything because it's not aired in Spain yet.
Okay.
But we Star Trek fans find our way, you know.
Okay.
Yes. Good. But if you watch the pilot, you know, they start outside of the known, you know,
You can even
Trek
say it's
universe.
Star Wars. It looks almost.
It looks like Star Wars at first, but you'll see over the course of the 10 episodes how they start diving into and exploring and discovering more of the Federation space and everything that we love about Star Trek. And so I think you'll love how the characters grow and change. And like when you see the pilot, they're not wearing uniforms because they don't know what that means. They don't know what it is. And we wanted to make sure that at that point, when they do wear a Starfleet uniform, it's going to move you because everyone's going to understand what that really means.
And I think what we talked about is, you know, it's good for newcomers and maybe younger or older viewers to discover Trek alongside with our kids, you know, our crew. But it's also great the very powerful idea of existing fans, older fans that are reconnecting with elements and ideas and characters and imageries, thematics that made them like or fall in love with Trek in the first place. And as you know, as we're going through the storyline of the first 10 and 20, we're constantly rediscovering, you know, all of what makes Trek so unique and so great. And I think that's the reaction we've had so far. I think with existing kind of fans, you know, giving the show a chance and then just finding themselves almost feeling anew or feeling younger as they're they kind of rekindle, just seeing images and feeling ways that they probably felt earlier when they first kind of came in contact with Trek, which I think it's a great feeling. And I think we were hoping for that. You know, that was part of the ambition of the show.
I can't wait for those of you in Spain to see our show because, you know, it's nice to sit here now and to have America has seen the first 10 episodes and to have the hardcore Trek community, even some they The most cantankerous Trekkies out there who have like, hearts of ice that are ice cold.
And they say it's okay.
It's okay. Their hearts are being warmed by our show, like chicken soup. So
we're looking forward to do this. I have kids now. When I got into Star Trek in my youth, I didn't have any kids, and now I hope that this is their point of entry into the Star Trek universe. Okay, so would you say that would be the target of the series, because it's been marketed as a series for kids? We Star Trek fans are going to give, as I said, an opportunity to discover no matter what the target or the official target is. But what is the target of Prodigy exactly? It's hardcore trekkers, is new trekkers that have a hook into the Star Trek universe with Discovery. It's
everyone.
It's everybody.
Everyone.
It's like a good story resonates. It's like to say, who's the audience for Finding Nemo?
We told Nick,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, good storytelling is universal, right? Good storytelling is universal. And right away, you know, when we first got the setup at Nickelodeon, you know, there was talk about the Nickelodeon audience. And I'm like, yes, we will get the Nickelodeon audience, but we're not just going for the Nickelodeon audience. We're going for everyone.
Well, you guys are talking with so much love and respect, not only about your series, but about the whole Star Trek universe. Let me ask you guys if you did you consider Trekkers before getting into this written gig?
We had to. I mean, we were so worried about it. It's like it's so daunting to create a Trek show because you know
it will be scrutinized.
They're sharpening their pitchforks. Yeah. And so we in the writers' room would talk about that, and so we had to balance that, buoy that with, oh my gosh, we're writing a Star Trek episode. How cool is that? So, you know, at the end of the day, we'd much rather be gourded by pitchforks and write a Star Trek episode than
someone was going to do it. Right?
Yeah, someone's got to do it. Might as well be yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, like to find new characters, new species, to revisit the old, to design ships. I mean, you know, it's a dream job, man. And so I think it's and Trek is such a monumental piece of work within the sci-fi genre that even if you're not the hard, you know, the die-hard fan and you've seen every single episode, you know, there is an awareness. It is always in the zeitgeist. It is in the air. It is something that it's palpable, right? And so I think we all have different connection to the material, you know, deeper, or but we all really understand it, respect it, and that goes from everyone on the team. You know, not just us three, but the artists, the writers, you know, our composer Nami is, you know, a huge fan of Trek. So we all have the little gold nuggets everywhere of our connection with the IP.
Yeah, and we can't write just for a Trek audience. We have to write for ourselves. We have to create for ourselves. Because as an artist, you have to what resonates with us, because that's the only way it will resonate with an audience, if it first resonates with us.
Of course. We would like to know, because a lot of fans, they have talked about Prodigy, they wondering if Prodigy is going to be considered canon in the Star Trek universe. It's going to be considered part of the official story. The new species that are going to be introduced in Prodigy are going to be considered part of the manuals and all the lore of Star Trek. Do you have any clue about this?
It is.
Right? Yeah, 100%. That was always, we did not want to be the little brother TV show and cartoon and that was being held down by all the other great shows. We wanted to be just as good as all the great Star Trek canon shows. And that's why we didn't make this an anime or some highly stylized show where there's no physics and characters are freeze framing and doing all this stuff, because they are going to be interacting with real legacy characters and interacting with the worlds of some of these other shows. And it's going to be magical.
And speaking of this, have you had any contact with showrunners or people in the other ongoing Star Trek series like Discovery, Picard, Lower Decks, and what is coming, or in order to coordinate your stories, maybe?
Yes, Alex Kurtzman's been smart. He's kind of shepherded all of us showrunners together, where we'll get together, we'll talk about our seasons and what we're hoping to do, and we're reading the scripts that they're writing. So we all know what's going on. And sometimes there's a little bit of hey, we're using this character, and then, you know, which one does it make most sense in? We'll have conversations about, but it's filled with respect. I think we all admire each other. And I think everyone's a big supporter of each other, and we all want what's best for Star Trek.
Okay, guys. And I presume that you guys knew what you were getting into when taking on a Star Trek assignment. I'm talking about the wall of conventions, the exposure to a audience who's very fond of their show. I know that I presume that you guys knew about this. Can you tell us any stories about the convention side and the fan contact side of being part of the Star Trek universe right now?
Daniel, what are you talking about?
We're about to go to our first convention. Ben and I will be in Chicago in April.
I mean, but there is, obviously these days, as you know, it's Twitter and online, and there's so much conversation. The thing, so it's not necessarily direct, at least, you know, to me, or we can engage in conversations which are in general incredibly positive. But I think the thing that I enjoyed the most is seeing fan art from very young kids drawing our characters and communicating their appreciation or connection with the show. I mean, that stuff is phenomenal. I love that stuff.
Oh, it's you know, amazing.
It's so great. Parents, the lack of merchandising right now is forcing parents to make their own toys for their kids. I mean, there's no greater validation than this.
Yeah.
It's just the coolest thing. So
okay, the hologram thing, the getting Captain Janeway into the series thanks to the hologram thing, I think not having seen more episodes of the first season, I don't know if you're going to take advantage of this good idea to have any more winks or nudges to another all-time Star Trek characters.
Oh, well, have you heard about
Episode
our
6?
episode
Yeah.
6?
I think
Episode 6.
Have you heard about it?
Should I?
Kobayashi Maru.
I mean, should I have heard about this? Should I-
Yes, probably.
Yes, hopefully.
I think they put that in the press release.
Yeah.
We have a special episode in episode 6, the Kobayashi Maru, where the kids are going to be introduced to the holodeck for the first time.
And let's just say Dal gets an opportunity to create a dream team.
Dream team crew out of all the greatest characters.
Okay, well, that's a good cliffhanger for the Spanish audience.
We can't tell you everything, right? They need to watch the show.
Yes. I'm looking forward. Absolutely. A question for Ben. I think this is the first Star Trek series to use 3D animation. Given your experience, we have seen other animated versions of Star Trek, but this is the first times we seen in 3D. Any technical things, any technical thoughts that you can give us about this, the first use of this technique in the Trek wall, or have you planned anything to translate the Star Trek spirit into 3D in any way?
Yeah, I think what 3D allowed us to do is to keep the cinematic feel of the live action shows and also the movies, and really keep that lineage of the visual language of these entries in the Trek universe. Because it is about lensing and about lighting and about really blocking sets and the scale of environments. We can really kind of like take advantage of discovering worlds that feel tangible, that kind of like they have a real sense of place. And so we've been certainly using the tool of CG and 3D animation to really kind of like keep this sense of realism, not necessarily in terms of the design of the character, but the feel of the world, that there is a real place to visit. Every week you're coming and you're alongside with this adventure with these kids that are going to just find these new crazy places. And there's a great amount of it's very colorful, it's very surprising, but it's also very engaging. And I think that the CG animation these days really allow us to experiment with really crazy designs, but because we have the freedom of animation, but to render them or to present them in a very movie-like way. And I think kind of to get that kind of quality on a weekly show is very exciting for us.
Can I add, like, what Ben and our animators have done is, as you could see just in the pilot alone, my favorite shots aren't the big shots, it's the close-ups. A lot of times in CG, especially television animation, it's really difficult to have a close-up shot on a character's face because they're a puppet. They're not articulated that well, but they've painted these characters so beautifully. And our actors are such wonderful performers. Just to have the camera sit on a character's face, looking up at the stars, or breathing and contemplating a decision before they make a big, hard choice. Those are moments, some of my favorite moments. It's not even the grandiose, it's as intimate.
Okay, guys, I have to give you thank you for your time. Thank you for attending the Spanish fans of Star Trek. We are often feel overlooked in the international fandom because we have to recognize that there is not a lot of us in Spain. Star Trek is a very minor phenomenon, but we feel very our heart is filled with you taking some time to talk us about your series. We're really looking forward to see Prodigy. You are invited to Spain, maybe for a wedding anniversary or something like that. And we hope to see you soon. Thanks a lot. Thank you for your time. Thank you for expanding the Star Trek universe in this way.
Oh, thank you, Daniel. And thank you to all the Star Trek fans in Spain. Thank you.
Hold strong.
Hold strong. Hold strong. We're going to make it better for you guys.